What's going on, everybody? It's JellyJNBA back with another video, and today's video will be the last video of a series that I started on this channel where I rank every NBA starter for the 2019-2020 season using a tier maker. Today will obviously be the last position, which will be center, and if you guys missed any of the previous 4 videos that feature point guard, shooting guard, small forward, and power forward rankings, I'll leave a link to those videos in the description below. But before we get started, if you guys are new here and enjoy the NBA, consider subscribing. I upload basically every day. Now let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so here we are at the tier maker. Now before I just start throwing guys into certain categories, I want to explain to anybody who missed the previous videos in this series what the logic I went through for putting each player in each tier. So for superstar, we have, these are clear cut the best guys at their position. For me, they're either borderline top 10 or top 10 players in the league. Right below that, we have all NBA, which are guys that are still premier talents at this position, just not on that superstar level. And then we have all-star. I kind of have a high-end all-star closer to all NBA, and then a low-end all-star closer to starter. Same thing for starter. I have a high-end starter closer to all-star, and then a low-end starter closer to bench. Bench is just rotational pieces that can come in and be what they need to be for you in the limited minutes that they play. And then bums are guys that don't deserve minutes. So we're going to start with a guy in JaVale McGee, who's bounced around a lot the past few seasons, but has, nicely found himself a home in LA. And he's played very well at the center position for them around Anthony Davis and LeBron. But I'm going to throw him in the bench tier just because I don't think he's a guy that really can play starter minutes for you. And I think, what they do in LA, they kind of bounce him and Anthony Davis around where they either play him at the 4, AD at the 5, whatever it is. I just don't think he's somebody that you really want playing starter minutes for you, so that's why he's in the bench category. Joel Embiid, I'm going to put him in the superstar tier. I think he's the best player at this position if you're just going off of centers. If you include the term big man, then Anthony Davis is in the conversation for sure, but I think he's the best center in the NBA on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, so that's why he's in the superstar category for me. Andre Drummond is weird. He was really between high-end starter for me and low-end all-star. I went high-end starter. I don't think he's in the all-star tier just yet, but I think if he is to get a better team around him with some better guys that can contend for the postseason, I think he can go into the all-star category and maybe even make some all-star teams. But for right now, he's in the starter category for me. Brook Lopez is another weird guy. I think, his fit in Milwaukee and what he is asked to do fits his play style perfectly. He's asked to stretch the floor by shooting threes and be the rim protector around that team. I'm going to throw him in the starter category because of this. I think what he is asked to do fits exactly what Milwaukee is known for, and that is just getting shooters around Jonas and playing excellent defense in the paint, and that is exactly what Brook Lopez can do on both sides of the ball. That's why he's in the starter category for me. Nikola Jokic is also on the superstar tier for me. I believe he is the second best player at this position. He's clear-cut the best passer at this position in the NBA right now, maybe even all time. He is that good at distributing the ball, and Denver is clearly building around him, so that is why he is in the superstar tier for me. Now we have a guy in Derek Favors who, when he was in Utah next to Rudy Gobert, the light wasn't really shined on him a lot, and I think that he has fit very well in New Orleans in his first season there. I'm going to go ahead and throw him in the starter category just because I think he can still be a solid 5 for your team, and I think he, has really been downplayed to this point in his career, having played alongside Rudy Gobert in Utah for most of his career. That's why he'll go in the starter category for me. Now we have Zubac. Here's the thing with me. I like him, and I want to put him in the starter category, but the reason I'm not is because Montrezl Harrell plays most of the minutes at the 5 position for the Clippers, and although Zubac does start for the Clippers, I think it really just shows, the Clippers don't want him playing starter minutes for them, so I'm going to put him in the bench tier. Now we have Jonas Valanciunas. I'm going to put him in the starter category. Just another guy that can come in, be a good rim protector for you. He's experimented with spacing the floor the last few years, and he's just a nice piece alongside Ja and JJJ, so he's going to go in the starter tier for me. Karl Anthony Towns is the 3rd best player at this position, in my opinion. He's going to go in the all-NBA tier just because of that. I think what holds him back from being in the superstar tier is the winning that he has had throughout his career. He hasn't really been, despite making the playoff with Jimmy Butler, he hasn't really been as the focal point, brought his team much success winning-wise, but he is the clear-cut 3rd best player at this position. That is why he is an all-NBA. Marc Gasol, a guy who has battled injuries this year. I'm going to throw him in the starter category just because I still think he can be a good piece for you on your team as a starter. Now we have Mitchell Robinson. This is another guy who who I'm going to put him in the starter category as well, just because I think he can be there defensively for you. Although he is limited offensively, I still think his impact on the defensive end is big enough for him to be in the starter category for what a modern NBA center is. Now we have Myles Turner, a guy who has all-star potential, many think, can space the floor a little bit, plays alongside another all-star in Domantas Sabonis in Indiana. I'm going to go ahead and throw him in the starter category though, just because I think he is very much on the same tier as Andre Drummond. Now we have PJ Tucker. He's going to go in the solid starter category for me. I think if he was on any other team despite Houston, he obviously wouldn't be playing the center position. But what he's able to do defensively, he very much is capable of being in the starter category for this position. Jakob Poeltl will go on the bench tier for me. He will be infamously known as the other guy traded for Kawhi Leonard. I just think, he's similar to guys like Zubac and McGee. He's not somebody that you really want starting for you on your team, but can come in and be a good rotational piece when needed. Now we have Bam Adebayo. For me, it was between All-Star or All-NBA. It was very close just because he's had such a good season this year. He's probably going to win Most Improved Player, but I'm going to go ahead and throw him in All-Star. In a year or two, if he keeps growing, can definitely move into the All-NBA tier. Alex Len, he's just going to go in the bench tier for me. Just a solid rotational piece, not a guy that you really want starting for your team, but can come in and what you ask of him, he can get done for you. DeAndre Ayton is a guy that hasn't really been able to show us much, obviously getting suspended midway through this season, and it's only his second year in the league. Now, for me, it was between All-Star, All-NBA, and what I said in the beginning is he hasn't really shown us enough. That's why he's going in the starter category for me. Similar to Bam Adebayo, though, when he's on the floor, show us that he is deserving of being the number one pick that he was in 2018. He will move up to the All-Star tier for me. Jarrett Allen, just another solid starter. I feel like we have a lot of solid starters at this position. Cody Zeller, solid bench piece. Can be what you want him to be for you. Just somebody that can come in, be a paint presence. Christian Wood, guy that's going to get paid a lot of money this summer. He's going to get offered a lot of money. He's a guy that is very young and that has had a story come into the league where he got cut by multiple teams early on in his career. I'm going to throw him in the solid starter category. I think very much similar to Ayton and Bam. If he is able to continuously grow now that Drummond is in Cleveland and be the guy that Detroit can really build around, he will 100% move into the All-Star tier for me. Then we have Kevon Looney. I don't know why his head is bigger than everybody else's head on this list. Must just be the pitcher I use. He's going to go in the bench tier for me. I think for almost every other team outside of Golden State, he's just another solid bench piece. Somebody that you really don't want starting for your team at the center position, but can come in and very much give you great minutes off the bench. Daniel Theis is going to go in the starter category for me. I think this might be a surprising move for many, but Theis has really been able to come into a situation in Boston where they really haven't had like what you think is the traditional big man in a while. They've always had guys that can space the floor and shoot it a little bit, whether that's Al Horford, Aaron Baines, whoever it is, and he fits that mold exactly. So that's why he goes in the starter category for me. Now we have Rudy Gobert. For me, it was between All-Star and All-NBA. I really can't avoid the fact that the impact that he brings to the Utah Jazz defensively is what makes them so good. And I do think as of the 2019-2020 season, he still is the fourth best player at this position. So I'm going to go ahead and throw him in the All-NBA tier. Steven Adams, just another solid starter that we have. Thomas Bryant, he's going to go in the bench category for me. I just think he's somebody that you really don't want starting for your team, but can give you solid minutes off the bench. Same thing with Dwayne Dedmon. Tristan Thompson is a solid starter for me, just a guy that can come in, dominate the glass for you. He'll get his points. He doesn't demand the ball. He's not a guy that, you run plays for through the post. He's going to get offensive rebounds and get his points his own way, as well as play defense. That's why he goes in the solid starter category for me. Vucevic, despite being an all-star last season technically, I'm just going to still throw him in the starter category. I don't think he'll make an all-star game for the rest of his career. That's why he'll go in the solid starter category for me, but he will definitely go in the high end of the starter category. That's why I put him there. Wendell Carter is another guy similar to Ayton who really hasn't been able to show us too much, obviously because it's only his second year in the league. But I'm going to throw him in the starter category. He's really been caught the injury bug this year, and Jim Boylan isn't the greatest coach in the world, but I still think he has the ability to be a presence defensively and be somebody that your team can build around because of his ability to dominate the glass, play defense, and score a little bit. That's why he goes there. And then last but not least, we have Hassan Whiteside. But I'm going to put him in the solid starter category. guy. I feel like he's still a guy that can be a defensive presence for you, that can dominate the glass. He's not really somebody, you know, similar to Tristan Thompson. He's not somebody that you need to run plays for in the post. He will get his points himself. That's why he goes there. And that's the video, guys. If you enjoyed this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this series, let me know in the comment section below what other type of videos you would like to see using these tier makers. I can make any. And once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.